Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gullen, hanging out with my popsicle of a co-host, Tony Shore, because we are both in freezing weather. But Tony beats me by about a net 27 degrees. I just looked at my phone.
27 degrees cooler here.
Colder, yes.
Colder, yes. I'm up here in Minnesota, and it's not snowing, but the temp this morning when I got up was negative 22.
Not even close to being jealous of that right now, Tony.
Actual temp, not feels like. That's actual. Feels like was below 30, below zero. So wife's car didn't start this morning. Had that going for us.
Yeah. And right now it's 5 degrees here. It
Yikes.
is with a feels like of negative 15.
Yeah.
I guess this is the silver lining, is that there's not an AFC championship game here this weekend.
Yeah, I guess there's, always look on the bright side of life. That's the way to go. Barb.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's going to be warmer than we are, so which I find crazy in and of itself. And I talked to some of the team at Gradient this morning out in western Kansas, and it's already snowing and icing there. So,
wow.
Anyway, we digress. It's a great weekend to not have to go anywhere.
It is.
But, you and I have not talked a whole lot lately about the federal workforce. We've talked about TSP,
sure.
But starting about this time last year, maybe 11 months ago, there was a lot that happened within the federal workforce with the Department of Government Efficiency and President Trump's executive order to do away with collective bargaining with the unions. And what we saw with the voluntary early out and fork in the road options that came out was that there were a lot of people that left the federal workforce. Even in crucial areas like the Veterans Administration, I have several clients who were patient facing that ended up taking a retirement option and separating from service. And, it has impacted the morale of the federal workforce. It has impacted, if you've tried to call to get something taken care of, you might have found a longer wait time if you get a response. But I found an interesting article talking about how the Veterans Administration lost 40,000 employees last year. And it's the first time in the history of the VA, I believe, that they actually had a net reduction in workforce.
Wow.
So
that's not good. That's really terrible. So especially the VA. I mean, they have so many struggles the way it is. I would think that's one area we want to shore up to take care of our veterans. And I hate to see any time that, that workforce is being depleted, right?
Yes. I mean, there was a net decrease of 3,000 registered nurses last year, a net decrease. Goodness, my mouth is frozen apparently. A net decrease of 1,000 physicians and over 1,500 appointment schedulers.
Wow.
And there are 10,000 positions that the VA had been struggling to fill. While there are benefits to people working for the federal government and working for the VA, and I consider it an act of service for those that step in and take care of our veterans and really come in and help them, they are usually dealing with a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
Not the latest technology. And, it can really be difficult for a physician to step in to the Veterans Administration and continue, God love them. The doctors that are there really do have a heart for the patients, and they really do care.
They do.
And I can only imagine how frustrating it is when they know that they could be doing better if they weren't within the constraints of the government. So, it's one of those things where if you are a veteran and if you're eligible for benefits and if you're having trouble getting in or find that they are outsourcing you a little bit more than normal, this is why. Um, because the VA, they hired 21,000 people last year, believe it or not. But OPM, the Office of Personnel Management for the federal government, shows that the VA had a net reduction of 27,000 positions last year.
Huh. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's the answer? I hope that something can be done about this.
Well, hopefully they will be able to hire some of these positions. I know that recently they have done a lot to increase compensation for social workers and other healthcare workers to bring them more in line with what private industry pays.
Sure.
I mean, I have clients that are social workers that in the last 3 years have seen a $30,000 increase in their compensation just to bring it in line more with what private industry pays.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't understand that many federal employees are unionized, and there are many, many unions that represent federal employees.
Sure.
So, a lot of things happened where that executive order tried to wipe out collective bargaining across the board. And along with that executive order wiping out collective bargaining, there was another executive order that mandated that everybody return to work.
So no more remote work is what you mean.
Right. That's what they tried to do last year, but
Yeah.
some of these unions have actually pushed back. The Environmental Protection Agency pushed back. However, the collective bargaining agreement that covered their ability to work remotely and work from home actually ended in December. So even though or may have even ended before that. So even though the arbitrator found in favor of the union, they can't do anything to enforce that. But several Health and Human Services employees actually won their arbitration agreement against the government. And that collective bargaining agreement goes through 2028, I think. And that return to office memo from the Trump administration does not override that collective bargaining agreement. So Health and Human Services employees that are represented by the National Treasury Employees Union are still able to work from home through 2028. Yeah. I mean, it's as if it wasn't hard enough to work for the federal government and to understand all of this. You have different unions that represent different groups of people, and they come out, they through collective bargaining come up with different compensation agreements. There are federal aviation union employees that, unlike the rest of the federal government, they can actually get a payout for some of their unused sick leave when they retire. Most of the time when you are retiring from the federal government, your unused sick leave actually gets credited to your service time, which, I mean, if you've got 2,000 hours, that adds a year of credited service time to your pension. And over your lifetime, that can make a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, that's huge. That's almost better than a direct payout then, if it actually counts towards service, because the more service you have, the bigger your pension is what you're saying.
Right. And, I mean, it was just such a topsy-turvy year because in addition to the fork in the road and the reduction in force through that, there was a hiring freeze on top of that. So for a lot of these agencies, especially the VA, when they were losing crucial staff with the hiring freeze, they weren't allowed to replace those positions. Now that hiring freeze has been lifted, not completely, but they are going to, they still have caps over the number of people that they can bring on, but they are no longer saying that you can't replace anybody.
Well, I guess that's good news. There's some good news, right?
Right. And really in response to the hiring freeze and everything, the VA did relax those requirements for veterans that were seeking what they call community care, where they
Sure.
could use their veterans benefits in the private sector. And they're trying to increase that contract. I think that contract is going to be worth about $1 trillion
Oh, wow.
and is one of the largest contracts in US history, not surprising.
That's real money even to you, Barb. I mean, $1 trillion.
That's real money to a lot of people.
That's
And
even hard to imagine. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, just let's let's rephrase that. It's $1,000 billion,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's nuts. So, yeah,
or $1 million. Okay, I'll
yeah.
quit playing with numbers in my head now.
Yeah, well, hopefully things change for the better though, right? I mean, so
Mhm.
federal employees, what's your take on this? I mean, overall, there's been a lot of bad news for federal employees the way it sounds.
There has
And
been, and I would say this is like a glimmer of hope.
mhm,
What a lot of federal employees are struggling with is that those that took that fork in the road option, they left the workforce, but they were continuing to collect a paycheck through December 31st.
right,
And so now a lot of them are wondering when their pensions are going to start.
right.
I have talked to several retired employees that are like, okay, I got my last paycheck. Do you know when my pension is going to begin? And I'm like, I really don't know. In a normal world, it takes 2 to 6 months before somebody starts getting an interim pension check, which isn't their full pension. And
Wow.
OPM processed roughly 10 times the number of retirees this December 31st
Yeah, during
than they
the Doge layoff
during
period.
the Doge, the fork in the road, the second
Yeah,
fork in the road.
yeah,
All of those people left the workforce months ago, but were still on the payroll.
right.
And so what we are dealing with now is that they had to process this retirement paperwork for, I think, about 10 times the number of people that
Yeah.
normally retire.
So it's gonna take time.
It's going to take time. There are going to be delays. Um, and, we have a lot of people don't that took it and they're like, oh, okay, everything's good to go. And now they're realizing that, oh, there's still going to be some of the same hangups, because even though OPM's workload increased exponentially with all of this, guess what agency also had a reduction in force? OPM.
Wow. Yeah. OPM
So
itself is dealing with fewer
yes,
employees and a lot more
and
work.
and a lot more work to do.
Yeah, what a mess,
Yes.
Barb. And so, yeah, it's amazing to me. But obviously, the huge influx is a problem, and that could create delays in the best under the best of circumstances. But it's too bad there isn't a better system in place. When somebody gets a pension, you'd think it would start immediately with a full pension right out the gate. Why can't it? I don't understand what the reasoning is. Why is it partial? Why does it take 3 to 6 months? When I retire, the following month, I should get a check,
Mm,
my full
right.
pension check, in my opinion.
And the short answer is they're working with an antiquated system.
Sure.
And for somebody who works in one agency their entire career, they're going to get their pension a lot sooner than somebody who hopped from agency to
Oh,
agency
sure.
to agency.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things that really the federal employees that take the ownership and the responsibility of keeping track of all of their documentation, their SF50s, which document anytime they change a position, anytime there is a grade or a step increase for federal employees, they're paid on a grade and step level. And that's how, that's how what your job is worth,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, if you Google GS pay scale and your city, it's going to come up. There's different pay. The base pay scale is the same across the country. Then there are locality adjustments for parts of the country where cost of living is higher. So somebody working in Des Moines, Iowa is not going to have the same locality adjustment as somebody working in Houston or in San Francisco. And
Sure.
for a federal employee, your pension is calculated on your highest 36 consecutive months of compensation.
Right.
They call it your high three.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily your last 36 months of work. If you worked as a supervisor and take a demotion because you want a lower stress level so that you get your credited service time in.
Yep.
If you are somebody like my dad who hopped across the country, I mean, we went from Chicago to Sheridan, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Okay. Cost a whole lot less to live and work in Sheridan, Wyoming than it did to live and work in Chicago.
Of course. Yeah.
So those things make it complex. And without state-of-the-art technology to track all of that, that's why you end up with the delays.
Yeah.
We have had several clients that had problems with their pensions. We've had clients where they, when OPM calculated the pension, missed an entire year of service. We have clients who were divorced, and the divorce decree specifies that the surviving or that the divorced spouse gets a percentage of the pension from when they were married. Well, they didn't stay married the whole time the federal employee was working. So they need to figure out what portion of the pension is attributed to those years that they were married. Yeah. I mean, it's very, at first blush, it looks like it should be really, really easy to figure out.
Wow.
But those nuances can make it very complicated.
Yeah. Obviously. Wow. Yeah. Point taken. All of those things. You can get lost in the weeds. It's not as simple
You really
as
can.
my mind thinks. Well, it's simple. You just start getting a monthly check, but there's a lot more nuance than that, and there are a lot of calculations and things that need to be figured out. So
there is.
So a lot of federal employees are struggling, and for those out of work, there may be opportunities to get back in if they're in a position to do that. The way it sounds. So, but when it comes to employee benefits, and for the private sector out there with 401ks, or the federal employees with their TSPs and other things, I think it's really smart to work with a trusted financial services professional, especially one like yourself, who really has specialized and worked with federal employees for a long time now.
Yeah, I've spent almost the last 15 years of my life working, not quite 15, but then I grew up around it because both of my parents were federal employees.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Barb, great show. Good to talk about this and make people aware of what's going on in the federal workforce. And there are a lot of shifting jobs, and we'll keep our listeners and viewers updated with what's happening out there. But if you're a listener or viewer and they have questions about their finances, whether they're a federal employee or not, if they have questions about 401ks, IRAs, retirement income planning, future tax planning, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh my goodness, we would love to hear from them. You can always go to our website, bgwealthmanagement.com. Click the contact us page, fill that out, and we'll get an email that'll let us know, and we'll reach back out to you. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and call us, you can call 913-553-6222. Select the option for appointments and scheduling, and Christina or another member of our team will reach back out to you and get you on the calendar with either myself or one of the other fiduciaries in our office so that we can help you lay out this roadmap for retirement and make sure that you're on track.
All right. Well, hey, that really, really makes sense, Barb. Listeners and viewers, pick up the phone, give Barb a call and our team there at BG Wealth Advisory. And that does it for today's episode, Barb. Good show.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. And that does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gullen.
We'll see you soon.